Grace and peace, friends and family. Welcome to another conversation. This is Joy. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend with me. If it is your first time here, welcome. We discuss narcissistic abuse from a biblical and spiritual perspective. I am a trauma-informed certified life coach, and I do have different programs that are available if you want to journey or partner with me, should I say, in healing your inner child, as well as the journey of emotional recovery after narcissistic abuse. I would be honored to partner with you. So let's get into our conversation. And I do want to just make mention that I am going to be live this Friday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please do join me for our live discussion. We are going to be kind of having a continuation from our last live, which was on witchcraft, blood sacrifices, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was the most recent live. So we're going to be doing a continuation on that. But let's get into today's conversation. I think it's time that we begin to dive into these narcissistic mothers a little bit more, because, when we consider mothers, right, we view them as the foundation of our lives. Wherever mom is, that should be home, no matter where that is. And babies, right, children, they form their first attachments with their mothers. We learn so much from our mothers, how to bond with others, and we actually derive our initial sense of self-worth from how she cares for us, nurtures us, protects us, and shields us from harm. However, we all know that narcissistic females are dangerous. You see, a narcissistic mother sets up her sons and daughters, right? She doesn't treat any of them fair. And there may be the illusion that one child is treated better than the other one, but please understand, it's just that. It's an illusion. She treats them all horribly. Even if it is the golden child is set up for failure in a horrendous way. But these women, or narcissistic females, narcissistic mothers, they have an insatiable need for control, excessive, ridiculous amounts of self-entitlement, and they absolutely lack empathy. And so they exploit their children, and their need for attention overrides the well-being and the welfare of their children. So not only do these women fail to protect their children from the terrors of the outside world, the tragic thing is they become the terror. They become the tormentor. It's unbelievable, the things that children raised by narcissistic parents, or narcissistic females, narcissistic mothers, since that is our focus, right? It's terrible, the things that she does to her children. She distorts the self-perception, and instead of giving her children building blocks, she becomes a stumbling block for healthy self-esteem, self-concept. She magnifies the internal critic that is already in the child. Then there becomes self-doubt, self-gaslighting, because after experiencing so much gaslighting from her, it's normal and it's natural that the child would gaslight themselves. And so there is an incredibly high sense of self-doubt, procrastination, always seeking external validation, and she stunts her child's emotional growth. Listen, her emotions are unbalanced and unstable, and she has a never-ending need for ongoing narcissistic supply. And the way she views her children is as an extension to who she is. The tragic thing is that she really doesn't offer anything. She will use the kids sometimes to be perceived in the community, whether it is at church, whether it's work, whether it's the local community, right? The neighborhood, the school, whatever. She will use them to get, attention and narcissistic supply, by playing the role of a doting parent. Meanwhile, she is a walking nightmare. She is a terror that these children, I can't even believe some of the horrors that people go through because of these women, but they are highly toxic, right? And there is no good that can come from these women. She just sets her children, her sons and her daughters up for inevitable danger because she prepares them for nothing. And when I believe when the mother is the problem, it really distorts the child's image of themselves, right? Yes, narcissistic fathers play a role in that too. I understand, but I want to highlight the mothers today. I want to highlight these women because the things that they do to the children are just horrendous, And if you are somebody who was raised by such a woman, my heart goes out to you and you are in my prayers. Listen, I pray for our community and I'm trusting the Lord to deliver you from the pain of your past, that all the pieces of your life would come together in Jesus' name and he would restore you into his original intent for your life. I pray that will come to pass for you, that shame, sorrow, bitterness, regret, anything that holds you back from walking into God's plan and purpose for your life. It is my prayer you are healed from it. With these narcissistic mothers, one of the things that she does is chronically shame her children, right? And what you have to understand about shame, it is a tactic that they use to ensure that children do not develop a sense of stability, a sense of identity, that it shatters the core, right? I've been talking about foundations and I've explained that my assignment in this season is to be a repairer of the breach, meaning I'm here to help repair the foundations. So I'm focusing on inner child healing as well as emotional recovery so that you can overcome your hardest defeats. Like these women leave their children on the cold, hard floor of disappointment, but the devil is a liar. God has given us the tools that you would be set free. And in the name of Jesus, who the Son sets free is free indeed. This woman, right? This narcissistic mother, what she does is she shames her children, compares them to other people's children, compares them to other family members. She pits the children against each other. She shames them for their academic performance, their bodies, their hair, some things that they cannot change. And what's so interesting is when she shames her children because of their body, whether they're underweight or overweight, she actually bears a lot of responsibility because she is the one who is supposed to be preparing the meals for her children. So I think she needs to hold the mirror up to herself. What are you not doing? But she shames them, and she shames them really for just having emotions. So a lot of these children, their emotions are repressed. You can't express what you're feeling. You can't say how she makes you feel. You certainly cannot cry, and don't you dare talk back, even though you may even just be answering one of her questions. And it's like, with children, there's this desire to please your parent, right? It's just a natural thing. But no matter how much a child auditions for her love and acceptance, no matter what they do, it will never be enough for her. And the second thing I want to mention is that when she brings these comparisons to their peers and to their siblings and just other kids, she is actually damaging them. Can you imagine? And I know for many of you, you already know what this is like. Constantly being compared to other people, and no matter how hard you try, you fall short. And what this does is it doesn't only just shatter the foundations, right? But it stirs up an internal conflict that the child becomes hyper vigilant and is always overperforming and underachieving based on her standards, even though the child may be above average. And sometimes what's even crazy is that she will shame the child for doing exceptionally well in school. for being, that child. She will shame them. And what that is because she, is looking at herself. So she's projecting her own feelings because she could never be that. So she will use that same child as an extension of herself to have bragging rights, if you would, but at the same time tear that child down. And if the consequences or the follow-up from her tearing that child down, their self-esteem, right? If it actually manifests, woe to that child, because how dare you? Who told you to fall back? But it is all devaluation. Those that have been in a relationship with a narcissist, whether you are married to one or, dated one or any of those things, I'm sure you can understand that, I know you know what it feels like, but now let's look at the lifestyle or the long-term patterns that would take place in this child's life. So CPTSD, that is one of the things that they will have to deal with later on in life. She triangulates her children, and they have to be obedient, and she becomes this figure of this fierce, mean figure of authority. And it's difficult thinking about these things, but like I was saying, she does treat them as an extension of herself, and what she does in this instance is micromanage them, right? And if you think about working in a corporate environment, like who wants to be and it doesn't just have to be corporate, so let me correct myself, but when your manager or your supervisor wants to micromanage you, like, first of all, that's annoying. But can you imagine now just being a child that has no way out, and you are forced to be subjected, or you are subjected by this woman, because where are you going? And the crazy thing is, who believes that the child is wrong? Because for one, if they know the mother is abusive, they won't, 9 out of 10, they fear standing up to her. One, because they don't want her to retaliate against her or against them, should I say, or they're in cahoots with her. And so it's just like, who's there for the child? But she will show them off, as prized possessions. So whatever the child does, if she has a beautiful or a handsome child, it's all because of her. If they do exceedingly well in school, sports, or in career, it's because of her. You inherited my good looks. You inherited my brains. If it wasn't for me. And so it's never like just a genuine congratulations, child. I see you, daughter. I see you, son, and I am proud of you. But it's always to tear them down. And what happens is she will praise them in public, but then rip them apart behind closed doors. It's horrible. And it always leaves that child second guessing themselves because they just don't know, and for that child to be walking on eggshells. Another thing about these narcissistic mothers is that they tend to compete with their children. And so the danger with this, right, is that it actually disrupts their ability to transition into adulthood. And the narcissistic mother has no shame whatsoever crossing sexual boundaries. And I know this is a difficult one for people to talk about, but let's go there because that's what she does. They compete with their children nonstop, especially their daughters. They become jealous of their daughters as they begin to bloom, if you would, as they begin to mature and their bodies changes. They're jealous of their sons' daughters because oftentimes these women in their sick, depraved minds think that this is their man and no one can treat my son better than me. Or she's just jealous. And so if the son happens to find a good woman, right? A good woman, she will tear that woman down or she will run her off. And a lot of times she wants somebody who is like her so that they can partner together and cause even more damage against her son. However, she still wants to maintain a high-ranking position within this demonic structure, if you would, because that's exactly what it is. It would be, if you consider the triangle and the hierarchy, at the top would be the mother, then the wife, and then the son. And those two top people, they work in cahoots to devastate his life, to stunt him, to make him miserable, and to just, dehumanize and devalue him. And when you think about it, this is not what mothers are supposed to do. She will consistently expose her children, sons and daughters, to inappropriate discussions about sex. She flaunts her body, whether naked or scantily clad, and she will always emphasize her appearance. She never teaches them, the value or the significance of, being pure, and not pure as in just don't have sex, but what is the purpose and what is the goal? What is the mission? Save yourself. She teaches them by the way she lives her life, the revolving door of different men, and all kinds of, continual craziness. But she doesn't care. She doesn't care. And all of this, you have to understand, is her perverted way of trying to claim superiority over her children. And it is a competition. And I hope that you see it for what it is, but it's a competition. She fails to provide adequate, information or teaching about, let's say, a daughter's changing body and the incoming of the monthly cycles, or just even communicating with her son, just how to take care of them. She does none of that. One of the tragedies, I believe, about, being raised by these people is that you are not prepared for life. You're usually just thrown into the fire, if you would. And the way I've described it before, and I have a video that talks about it, it's like being groomed by one demon to be passed on to another demon, because when a child has only experienced this their whole life, what that does to the child is that they have no boundaries. They will always seek external validation because they were never validated as a child. They will audition to be seen and heard. They will audition for love. It's crazy. It's crazy, and it's heartbreaking. I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking about kids that are actually going through this right now. She is absolutely obsessed with her appearance, and it's always at the expense of the children. So let's say that there's a set amount of money that comes into the house. She doesn't care about the needs of the children. They can have the most raggedy, busted bed sheets, but as long as she has the latest wig, the latest weave, the latest shoes, the latest look, it doesn't matter. As long as she has the luxury and she has these Egyptian cotton sheets and everything, it doesn't matter. They can sleep on whatever. You can make do with whatever. She's the type that goes out to eat and has these lavish meals while the kids are just scrambling for whatever is there. And the only time she would replenish cabinets is when there will be company, when she has to put on a performance so that she can just be praised for what a wonderful job she does. Sometimes she doesn't even let people into the home because she doesn't take care of the home, and they would see the pigsty that these children live in. Isn't it interesting when we see these cases of children that have been abused by a mother and even her crazy psychotic new boyfriend, and we get to see the conditions that the child was subjected to live in? It's horrendous. Like, even our pets have better living conditions, but she doesn't care. She shows off her children she shoves them into the world without properly training them, and she just violates every emotional boundary. She does not care about their emotional, spiritual, psychological, physical, or financial well-being. She does not care. And what happens is that, she can enlist the help of other narcissistic females. Birds of a feather flock together, and they partner to subject her children to more torture and torment. Like, where's the help for the children? One thing is that she violates boundaries. She violates boundaries. And so how does the child learn anything about autonomy and, these are my basic rights? She demands knowing every single little detail about their lives, and God forbid they would have a diary. She interrogates them about everything, their friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, just normal life things. But of course, we would engage in conversation with our children about stuff like that, but we respect them. And we actually guide them through conversation to make better decisions. But she will see that if there is somebody good, she must drive them away. Or if the child is making good decisions, she's going to gaslight them. And it's like these kids live in a world where they're continually being punished for just being. Like, none of us asked to be born. But here we are, and we do the very best that we can, that we do the best with the hand that we've been dealt with. But it's hard for a child to understand, why are these things happening to me? It's hard for a child to not feel wanted, to not feel seen, to not feel needed, and to think that they go through life growing up, experiencing these emotions, and they get to witness their friends and even other family members, sometimes in the same household, living a different type of existence, a different type of reality than they do. It's shattering. It's horrendous. And then remember, a child doesn't just stay a child. They'll go through the teen years, which are very confusing and difficult. And you throw in raging hormones and not knowing what to do, and just what's happening to me. And you see your friends have, they're making decisions to go to college and all of these other things, jobs, children, marriage, children. But what help is there for this one? Because it's like you never had any tools or resources and are just thrown into the world and expected to perform. And then when you don't perform, it's your problem. And look at you. You are an embarrassment. You have always been an embarrassment. You are no good. And I knew nothing would come out of you. Just look at you. What does that do to the core of a person? And then the crazy thing is that most relationships that they will get into are with somebody who mirrors those type of attributes, because that's what is comfortable. It's not that they want to do this. Listen, if that's you, it's not that you chose this thing willingly, but that's what was familiar. And sometimes we fall into the pattern of what is familiar and then realize, like, oh no, this really isn't it. It's only when we know better, we do better. But this is why it is so important to heal the wounds of abandonment and rejection. It is so important that you stop people pleasing. It is so important that you learn how to validate yourself, to uncover your values, should I say, your values, so that you can define adequate boundaries for yourself, and you continually reevaluate your boundaries, because as you grow, your values change, you elevate, and so they need to change. They need to reflect the growth. I'm so passionate about helping in those areas so that you can pursue your most significant state. I think some of the reasons why some people struggle to trust God is because they've been exposed to these type of relationships. And it's not so much that, well, where was God? Because some people will ask that question, but then there is the group of people that say, I just don't know how to trust him. I don't know how to let go. I don't know how to really ask him for anything, because I was never allowed to ask. I don't know how to talk to him because I was always told to be shut up. So how do I break out of this? And people get stuck and they think God doesn't want me. God doesn't love me. God doesn't hear me. The devil is a liar. God loves you. God is here for you, and he is on your side, and he would want you to heal. And he wants you in relationship with him. You are loved by the creator of heaven and earth. I want you to remember this. And if you've had that difficult childhood, I know, trust God. He is able to do the impossible. These narcissistic mothers parentify their children where she makes them feel obligated to cater to her needs. And so instead of them being a child, they're forced to grow up and take care of a grown-up. It'll never make sense. That math will never math, but this is what they do. she keeps them, she just keeps them indoctrinated. It's like a cult, y'all. It's like a cult. She keeps them indoctrinated, feeling that they cannot branch out into life. They always have to run back and seek validation and ask her, well, is this the right thing? Can I do this? How do I balance a checkbook? And it's infuriating. And anytime she feels like she is being threatened, right, by her ranking, or her superiority is being threatened, that is a narcissistic injury. So we know after a narcissistic injury, here comes the narc rage. And so she will just unleash all kinds of havoc on her children. And it's just, very simple things that we don't even pay attention to, or we can't even, we would never think of that. Are the things that cause these narcissistic injuries. But because, you don't know, and you can't kind of predict when it's coming. So these children are walking on eggshells, right? Does that sound familiar? Walking on eggshells. And now you are, you want to be just quiet, like a wallflower, just disappear so you're not seen. It's an emotional roller coaster. Hyper vigilant all the time. Come on, that is so stressful, and it is so exhausting. I think, like, even when we are in these adult relationships, yes, we get to go through all of those things, right? But imagine 2, 3, 4, 5, those years. And that is your lifelong pattern. But because I started counting at 2, please don't think this thing starts from pregnancy, because she doesn't even take care of herself while she's pregnant. Only in the eyes of some people. For some of them, others just simply do not care. Won't eat healthy, smoke, drink, take whatever narcotic they feel like it, living it up with every other man. And I don't think that I can rank any of my thoughts, that this is a high one, this is a low one. They're all evil. They're all horrible. But she emotionally invalidates her children, and she guilt trips them, gaslights them. And this is a lifestyle. You're always invalidated. She shames them no matter what. And this is because she lacks empathy. She does not and will never consider the feelings of her children and their basic needs. She lies to them about everything. This is why some children never get to know their father, even though the mother knows full well who the father is. And, even when the children start having children, she will try to, take over the relationship with what would be her grandchildren. And she will either, make them her golden child, so to speak, and then just, still keep the parent as the scapegoat, or she will sit and talk to the child all kinds of way about the parent, right? The mother or the father. And it ruins, or it has the potential to ruin their relationship, but she doesn't care. She doesn't care. She manipulates children, grandchildren. It doesn't matter. There is no validation from her. She will just, constantly belittle and berate them, and she provokes them, constantly provokes them, and she puts them down. And she has these fits of rage and insults, and that's all a way that she seeks to maintain dominion over them. This is not what life is. It's not what life is. When we have mothers who are healthy, who are normal, so to speak, we understand that they have a level of empathy, love, concern. They care about the emotional welfare of their children, and they may not have all the answers, but they seek out resources. But she is just a perverted version of what a mother would be. And, if you've been in the clutches, or you were raised by one of these women, my heart goes out to you, and you are definitely in my prayer. And I pray that you would take time to do the work to heal. The healing journey is not an easy one. It is also not a linear journey. And when you're coming from this type of relationship, I believe it can take a significant amount of time to heal. I'm not saying a lifetime, right? But it can take a while to heal, simply because there's so much work at the foundation, at the core level that needs to be done. So if you're feeling like I've been in this cycle for so long and I'm doing everything that they say I need to do, I've gone here, I've gone there, I've been to therapy, been to coaching, it's not working, extend some grace to yourself. Extend some grace to yourself. It is hard. And what happens in the journey of healing, right? The more you uncover, it does hurt, because you know, different emotions and even suppressed thoughts and memories and emotions will arise that can make you feel like I didn't make any progress. And then if you have an outburst, right, or you respond to a hover, if you're no contact or any of those things, right, it'll make you feel like you lost progress, but you didn't lose progress. It was just an event. It was not a loss of progress. We take that as another opportunity to learn. Listen, fearless one, I pray that this video has been helpful, and I want you to be encouraged. Just because you were raised by one, you are not who she says you are. Just because that was your mother and it's her DNA in you, that still doesn't define you. You are a child of the Most High God, and you got to hold your head up and act like you know that you are loved by the Creator of heaven and earth. You've got to know that He says that I am that I am. So even what you need for this, even what you need to be healed, restored, He is able to provide. He is almighty, all-knowing, ever-present, and He's waiting to hear from you. I want to thank you so much, fearless one, for spending some time with me today. It's my sincere hope that this has helped you at least understand some things. And again, if you would like to connect with me for coaching or engage in any one of my programs, please visit pinkgirlteaches.com, and I'll see you live on Friday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. God bless you, and continue to come from behind and pursue your most significant states.